Episode number 28 with Steve and Mike. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton.
And this is Mike Snyderman.
And I'm coming to you from the WSOP, and Mike is back.
I'm back in Oceanside, California.
Yes. And you had quite the successful trip.
Yeah, I can't complain. Yeah, I mean, I guess last time we spoke, I had already won a Venetian tournament and ran deep in a Planet Hollywood one, and then we were talking the day after I bagged day one of the Millionaire Maker, where I made another deep run there.
Yeah. What'd you get, 43 or something? Or?
Yeah, 43rd.
Yeah.
And then
29 or 30K or something?
Yeah, 29K.
Nice.
And then I went deep in a 1K the next day. So yeah, I don't know. I cashed like 4 of 12 tournaments or something while I was there, and quite profitable for both myself and my investor.
Yes.
So that's good. Someone else is happy with my success. And just trying to now I'm back in California. And just trying to adjust and to the post-WSOP joys. Of course, I'll be coming back, too, for the main event, certainly, and possibly also next week, actually, for a few tournaments. I'm trying to decide. And so how you doing there, Steve? I know you cashed your first tournament there, and then...
Yeah, I played in a $600 one at the Venetian. There were 606 runners. I ended up getting, it was a 2-day event, I got 38. And they started paying at 63, and it was basically a min cash until you get up to like 20th or something. I mean, like, 63rd paid like 1,200, and then 21st paid like 1,800. I mean, it was not, basically no difference for those 40 people. And I ended up I got 38th in that, so that was good. And then I played in a Rio deep stack. I busted 14 from the money. I was talking with another pro about this today, and I'm like, they were dropping like flies. And I'm like, I had 7 bigs, and I knew I could have folded my way.
Another pro. Are you a pro now, Steve? I'm just checking.
I like.
Oh, you mean when you talk to me, I'm one pro, and this is another pro? Okay.
There you go. You can think of it like that too.
Okay, I got you. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
And he's like, those min cashes are really, really important. He's like, people undervalue them, and he's like, yeah, I mean, you do want first, second, or third. He's like, but if you're sitting there with like 8 or 9 bigs, and you can fold your way to the money, sometimes you just got to take it. I'm like, that might have been in the same boat that I was in, because I made such a marginal shove. I kept with King 7 off in the cutoff, and I had 7 bigs, and it folded to the big blind, who tanked. He tanked for about 2 minutes. And then he finally called, and when he called, he flipped over, he had 40 bigs. And when he finally called my 7 big shove, he flipped over ace queen.
Well, that's just,
okay.
That's just ridiculous. That's not an exaggeration. He really went in the tank that long.
He really went into the tank, yeah. And just to show you what kind of player he was, I can't believe he made it this far, but, a guy also shoved, under the gun, I'm sorry, I take that back. He risked under the gun, then under the gun +1 shoved. And then it folded back around to him. This was about a half an hour before. And he tanked about 3 seconds and then finally called with pocket queens. And the guy shoved like 14, 15 bigs. And that was after his raise. So he was incredibly tight. Had no idea what shove fold ranges were. So had he had something like ace jack there, he tanking that long with ace queen. And
So you were at this point you were 1 for 2, and then you went back to the Venetian today, right?
Well, then after that, yesterday I played at Planet Hollywood. I played a 300.
Okay.
And I think I played that one really well. I don't remember making any glaring errors or anything, and I was making good reads and good folds. Yeah, I played that one real well. And then after that, then I played the Venetian today. I played the 1100, and that was fun. That was cool. It felt like, one hand I severely misplayed. It was like level 2 or 3, I think, and the blinds were only 1 and 200. We have a starting stack of 15,000. And the button raised, and it folded around to the button. He raised, and then the small blind called, and then I looked down at pocket nines, and I 3-bet. So the button raised to like 450, 425. Small blind called to 425. I re-raised to 1400. Button calls, then small blind takes a little while. He probably took about 20 or 30 seconds, and then he shoved. And he shoved, there's, let's see, 15, so there's, how much dead money is out there? Maybe 4K, and he shoved in for probably about 12,000.
Okay.
And that's when I went into the tank. And I started thinking, and I'm like, okay, what would he do that with? And I said, ace-king would make a lot of sense there. Maybe ace-queen or ace-jack suited, I mean, you get two guys that are just kind of, we'd kind of been doing a little bit of back and forth war between the three of us whenever the button was coming around. There was like that dynamic there, And,
so he could be 3-betting a monster because you've squeezed before a 3-bet before, or he somehow knows you're capable.
Exactly. And so I thought, he's either got a freaking huge one here, or he's got something like ace-king that, if he gets called, he's probably flipping. Or he's doing it with something like jack-10 suited, or maybe like an ace blocker or something. I don't know. There was that dynamic there. And I couldn't decide what to do, so I thought, okay, well, let me see if I can get any kind of live tells on him here. So I kind of picked up my stack and I did the fake pump, where you kind of like pick it up like you're going to call, but you're looking for his reaction,
Right. Well, how many chips did you have, by the way, to start this hand? Do you remember?
I had about 12. We're both. He had me covered by a couple thousand.
So you've got to call 10,500 to win like a pot of like a little over 14K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, let me see if I can get a live tell on him here. And so I picked up my chips and I kind of did the pump fake. And what he was doing is if you can picture, like his foot's on the ground and he's just anxiously like shaking his foot up and down, so it's just like a little, like a dog's tail just going up and down, And when I did the pump fake, he like held his breath and stopped. And that's where I was like, okay, maybe he is bluffing and he doesn't want to call. And that made me put the chips in the middle. The button folded and he flips over pocket queens. And I'm like, that was a bummer. I went with my read, I went with my gut, and it was wrong. But fate was not on his side, and there was a 9 in the window, and I ended up getting a boat. So he was crippled down to just a few thousand. He was out shortly after. But that gave me basically a double starting stack, and I doubled up right there. And then I got aces, got paid off by them. I got aces again, got paid off by them. And then I got pocket queens. And in the meantime, I'm doing things like raising with jack-10 suited, kind of playing like double get-shotted boards and stuff like that, taking it down, picking my spots with bluffs. I was pretty proud of the way I played after the pocket nines. And then I got pocket queens, 2 red queens. I'm on the button. And a girl, what was she? She would be under the gun. She raised. And then I 3-bet. And then she called, and that I should back up a little.
What position were you in?
I was on the button.
Okay, I don't know if I see a reason to 3-bet there, but yeah, depending on how deep you are.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me go over the dynamic before, because the rotation just before that, I had jacks on the button. She raised under the gun. I 3-bet her. She called. She check folded the flop. The flop was ace king 2 or something like that, and she said like, I hate pocket nines in this spot, and then she threw it away. So I guess she was behind the whole way, but I pretty much turned my jacks into a bluff at that point. Then the very next button rotation, I'm on the button, she's under the gun, she raises again, same exact sizing, comes around to me, I 3-bet, and then she calls. Blinds at this point are, let's see, what are they? They're 2 400. She raised to 900. And then I 3-bet to 21. She calls. We go to the flop, and the flop is 2, 3, 6.
Okay.
She bets.
She leads. She donk leads into you after calling the 3-bet.
She donk leads into me.
Okay.
1,200.
What was was it rainbow flop or?
It was two-tone. There were 2 diamonds. She donk leads into me for 1,200. I re-raise to 3,100. And then she calls. And the way she's calling, too, she's having a conversation before this hand started. Like she's having a conversation with this guy to my right and kind of a couple other people at the table. And she's never skipping a stride. You know what I mean? Like, she never, stopped the conversation to think about the hand. She just continued talking. And that struck me as kind of weird. Most of the time when people are getting in a big pot, because the way the pot's building, it's like I have probably twice her chips, and she's going to have to face a decision for her tournament life here, but she's still going on about this story of, I don't remember what the story was, but it was inconsequential. You know, it was just useless chatter. And but she never skipped a stride in the story. And so when I raised her on the flop, I expected her to just fold, but she didn't. She's like, oh, it's on me. How much more is it? Oh, it's 31 total. Okay, and just got the chips out and called right there. And then the turn was a king of diamonds, and then she shoves all in for 8,300. The pot I added up was a little bit over 12, from what I could tell. It might have been 12.3 or 12.5, but it was over 12,000. So 12,000 in the pot. She shoves 85, and so it's 85 for me to call a pot of over 20.
It sounds like the numbers are you raised to 31 on the turn.
Let's see. I haven't written this down. I'm just going.
Yeah, because unless she donk led really small, it should not have been 12,000 of the pot. If there was just 6,200 on the. I guess there could be. I don't know. Yeah, whatever. I'm sorry. The third, it was a diamond on the turn. So
yeah,
3 diamonds out there and a king.
Yeah, so it's 2, 3, 6. It was 3 low cards with one. Maybe it was 3, 4, 6. It was something like that. The 3 and the 6 were diamonds, and then the king of diamonds hit. None of them was above a 6 on the board. I remember that. And 2, 3, 5. That could have been it. I think it might have been 2, 3, 5.
Right.
And then the king of diamonds hits. I have 2 red queens, so I got the queen of diamonds.
Right, you get the blocker. I don't know. That'd be kind of an interesting way to play ace king there if she had it. Why would she donk lead? I mean, if she's going to donk lead, you'd think she'd be folding to a raise, unless you guys are both super deep, which you weren't. Like the ace king, if I might just check call. Especially you're either A, if you got a diamond in your hand, or B, you're willing to rep it. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, ace king makes sense, I guess. But, I mean, I guess she could have, 2 jacks with a jack of diamonds. If you're trying to think of hands you could beat, or she could have an ace of diamonds with, I don't know what combinations of ace of diamonds she could have here, unless she raised with ace 5 of diamonds and also has a gutter ball or something.
Yeah, I was thinking
with that
maybe
kind of hand. Well, if you tried to hut her up, what would you say her VPIP is, and what's her EP raise? I mean, I don't know if he could.
Okay, I would say her VPIP and PFR is probably something like 20. 420, something like that. 20
with only, so she's kind of passive. She's flatting a lot, or I don't know. It's
she's probably playing 24% of hands and raising 20% of them.
How many chips do you have in your stack here to start the hand? Remember?
I've got I think
40K or something.
Probably 30.
30K. So
yeah, 30, 31, something like that.
So that's not an insignificant bet to be calling there.
No, it's not. It's not.
Although it's some kind of strange. If she's got either a flush or a king and you've raised, why not just check to you?
Yeah.
On the other hand, if she has the hand and she's shoving, you're going to say, well, that's bizarre. Why wouldn't she check to me? You know what I mean? So, could be like a leveling thing there. Not an easy spot. There's also, quickly, you can just call the turn there. You know what I mean? I mean, it's dangerous if you're putting her on ace-king that she's going to catch up. But just in terms of...
You mean call the flop?
I'm just call the flop, yeah. Just not control the size of the pot here. And then...
I wanted her to shove. I was hoping she had like tens or jacks or something because the dynamic, exactly the same scenario set up the button, the rotation before.
Okay. Well,
so I was hoping she was going to be like, oh, you know what? I got nines again here. This is the perfect flop for pocket nines, and screw this guy. I'm not going to let him run over me again. I'm taking it down.
Okay, that's fair. That makes sense.
So that was my reasoning for raising, is I wanted her to shove there, but then she just called, and then the king of diamonds hit, and then I started thinking, I'm like, okay, if I had ace of diamonds, king, I would probably donk lead and then call too. I mean, that could be a line that I would take, or I would check call. That's probably what I'd more like to do, is check call my bet on the flop and then see if a favorable turn came down like a diamond or either an ace or a king. So that would make sense.
Right. I'm just pointing out your willingness to play big pots. It seems like, you know what I mean? So that's
okay.
all.
Yeah.
With
maybe you're right.
queens, I see no reason to, and the first Venetian you made a run in, you also had a 4-bet shove with ace king and ran into aces and got lucky. Although that one I don't know if I can really fault you too much for, but
I was so loose at that time, I thought that I would get called by a lot worse. And that was my reasoning for doing it. And then he snap called with aces. I'm like, oh, jeez. Then I got lucky.
Right.
Of course. You have to if it went ace-king versus aces.
Right.
But,
okay, so this was, what'd you end up doing here? Did you call or did you fold?
She called the clock on me. So I must have been taking longer than I thought. And then I eventually just folded. And then she showed the ace of diamonds.
Mm.
And I was trying to get her to talk, but she wouldn't talk. I was like, okay, you do that with like ace king with the ace of diamonds. I'm like, you could do that. And I was also thinking too, I was like, would she raise in that spot with the ace of diamonds and one of the low cards that hit, like a 2 or a 3?
Yeah, that would be pretty bad under the gun raise and call a 3-bet with, I would think.
Yeah, that would be pretty bad. I don't think she did that.
Unless, like ace 10 of diamonds or something, ace 10 of diamonds or ace jack of diamonds, I guess. But if she was going to do those, like personally for me, if I was going to donk lead those hands on the flop and then you were going to raise, I would probably just shove the nut flush draw.
Yeah.
But I guess it looks exactly like what it is if that's what she has. Whereas if she smashes the turn, that's a good hand to do it with, if you got jacks or queens.
Yeah.
Basically, by her showing the ace of diamonds, she was drawing real live, or possibly you were drawing dead or close to, or in a shitload of trouble.
Basically, the two outs.
If she's got a king, yeah.
Yeah,
so
I was running through all the
really,
hands in my mind, and the only thing that made sense to me was ace king with the ace of diamonds and a king of something else. Unless she did that with like ace jack, that with the ace of diamonds or something, maybe she led and then called my 3-bet on the flop, hoping to hit a diamond, ace, or jack, or maybe ace queen. Although I've got 2 queens, so that's unlikely.
Right. But it is interesting that she sounds like she's playing, ace king. I don't know if I call that passively, but semi-passively. A lot of people are going to 4-bet, get it in there.
Yeah.
Especially if they've seen you 3-betting with any sort of frequency. So, if she's calling, usually if they're just flatting 3-bets with ace king, they're very kind of flop dependent. And here she wasn't. Apparently, she donk led and called your raise. So I don't know what that means. Could have had aces. And you know what? I never thought of that. She could have had aces and just been,
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's possible.
That would make sense. Aces would make a lot of sense. How did I not think of that? I bet you're right, Mike. That's probably what she had.
Yeah, I don't know, or unless she just was there's a lot of chips in the pot, and she just said, I'm going to call here and shove the turn. And she had, she had like the ace of diamond and some weird, jack of clubs and just whatever. Yeah. It sounds to me like she has it, especially if she's had to make a decent laydown before.
Yeah.
So, I can't really blame you for how you play that hand. Although sometimes, like, if someone's under the gun raising and they're not like super active, like queens and ace king, I mean, they're ahead of the person's range, but I think maybe we already discussed. That was a hand last year. I was one of the chip leaders in the Millionaire Maker going into day 2. Uh-huh. Or one of the top 30 stacks of, however 8,000 people who started it. And, pretty early in the day, I think it was, guy opens under the gun, and I'm like UTG +1, and I 3-bet. I had ace king, and I 3-bet, he 4-bet shoves. I'm like, okay, I called. He had queens and won a flip for like 2/3 of my stack. Okay. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with just flatting there. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then just getting away from it. Like when I was thinking kind of the same thing where you, especially early position raises, especially online tournaments, I got no problem, especially if I'm out of position. Somebody raises under the gun, I got ace king off in the small blind. Mm-hmm. I'm probably flatting there more than 3-betting, unless it's just a super active player.
You got ace king off in the small blind.
Yeah, and let's say we each have 25 to 30 bigs.
Okay. Really? You would flat there instead of
re-raise? 9 full ring, 9-handed. I mean, it depends. It would be like, again, it's sort of HUD based, but if it's your typical tag player, 18, 12 or something like that, you're not really that far ahead of the range, if not, because like if it's a good player, like ace jack under the gun is a fold. Yeah. Especially, when you start getting down shorter stacks. So basically, there's only one hand you're ahead of.
That's a good point.
So I'm just saying, like, when you, I don't know, like you said, I don't know the dynamics when a guy 3-bet and then he happened to have aces, but like, although ace king looks like a monster, especially, that's a hand maybe you can even fold, really, if it depends on, who you're playing against, but if you're saying you get called by worse, but, ace queen suited is the only hand worse you're getting called by. You're never getting called by ace jack. Probably. Yeah. Or you got a pair and you're flipping. There is a little bit of dead money in there, but just throwing that out there. I don't know.
Yeah,
overplaying ace king is something where I've, definitely lost a lot of pots with. But then on the other hand, there's times where you just play ace king passively and somebody gets to the river cheaply with pocket 4s or some hand they would have folded pre-flop if you raise. So there's two sides of it. But just, just because you see ace, king, or queens doesn't mean it's like, okay, time to get it in.
Yeah. You might be right. I might, now that you're saying that, I'm running back in my mind, and I think I do have a tendency to play, bigger than normal pots and be willing to go for it when I have bigger hands. And I think those are the times where you almost need to be a little bit more careful, because that's when a guy can stack you with something like 7-5 of clubs, hit 2 pair or hit some random straight that you don't see and
right.
And get your whole stack.
Yeah, I mean, I probably play the queens the same way, but I was just bringing up, you're in position. Mm-hmm. It depends who would be, there's always the possibility somebody behind you tools out and shoves their ace 9 or something like that. Somebody, I don't know how big the stacks were behind you. Nobody should be shoving. They're pretty light, but, I don't know, just throwing it out there. It sounds like you played it okay, though. You probably raised and started, like you said, building a pot with the best hand, and then possibly got sucked out on the turn. So, any other card but an ace or a king, it's probably a check fold on her part. It's hard to say.
Yeah, unless she had aces.
Right, unless for some reason she's slow playing aces there, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was kind of the hand that started you sliding in the wrong direction? Is that what I'm...
Yeah, kind of. There was that one, and then when she showed the ace of diamonds, I was like, I wasn't sure if I made the right fold or not, but I thought, well, move on to the next one. Very next hand, I get ace queen. And, let me see if I can remember the numbers here, but, okay, we're still at the same level, 2-400. Now this girl's in the big blind. Under the gun, raises to 900. He's a, black guy, probably in his late 20s. Got headphones on, seemed friendly, looked like a pro. He'd been playing, if I had to give him numbers, I would probably say he's playing like 27, 23, something like that. He raises to 900 under the gun, folds around to the guy to my right. He calls the 900. I've got ace queen offsuit, ace of spades, queen of diamonds or hearts. I think it was a heart.
Okay.
What are you doing here? Are you raising or are you folding? All right, not folding. Are you raising or calling?
You're in the small blind now?
No, I'm on the, let's see, the button is one to my left, so I'm in the cutoff. Because I was on the button last hand, so I'm one to the right of that.
Yeah, probably flatting, I guess. Yeah, it's kind of a weird spot.
Okay. All right, that's what I did.
Especially since you just 3-bet the other hand, you could get blown off a pretty decent hand here.
That's what I was thinking.
Somebody could 4-bet light, and you kind of, I mean, you don't have to fold it. You could rip, but
yeah. Okay. That was I'd been pretty active, and it was from catching hands, but they don't know that, and so I flatted.
Okay.
Let's see. Button folds, small blind folds, and then the girl in the big blind, she calls. The girl from the previous hand. We go to a flop, and the flop is queen of clubs, 3 of diamonds, 3 of hearts. So I flop top pair with, I got 2 pair now, queens and 3s, with an ace kicker.
Okay. You had like 22K to start this hand, am I guessing about right? You had a little over 50 big blinds?
Yeah, I want to say I had, 21 to 23, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. A little bit more than 20, but not much. The girl checks, the under the gun raiser, he checks, and then the guy on my right, he bet 25.
Okay.
He bets 25. What are you doing at this point? Are you calling? Are you raising? Or?
Probably just calling.
Okay.
I mean, this is one of those, standard, I mean, it depends on the guy, but if he's someone who's not going to give up on a pot when she puts any money in, he definitely could be continuing on the turn with worse. He's almost never flatting aces or kings, so, I mean, you've got the best hand. He shouldn't have any 3s in his range, so you should have the best hand. 19 out of 20 times here, and I guess there's no reason to blow him off of it, especially if there's no draws out there. There's no flush draw, right?
No flush draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little, yeah, I lean towards the flat.
Okay. A little history on this guy. He was probably my age, maybe 35, no more than 40. Came from San Diego. Asked him if he knew you, because he said he played at Oceans, and he's like, no, I haven't, I don't know who he is. And then he was talking about how, Daniel Negreanu wasn't that great a player, but, who the hell did he say was a really good player? Volpe?
Right.
What's his first name?
Paul.
I can't remember. Paul Volpe is, such a sick player and this and that, and he's so much better than any of these other guys, and talked about how he used to play for a living in Vegas, and then he went down to San Diego, and now he plays part-time and does some computer stuff on the side, and he was extremely active. Just to give you an idea, he bought in about 2.5 or 3 hours late, and then this first hand he was all in. So, don't know what he had. The other guy folded, but this guy was throwing his chips around all over the place. And I didn't think he'd be around too much longer.
Well,
that was my impression.
That might be an argument for raising then. If he's got queen 10, queen jack, queen king in his range, or if he's going to just shove pocket 8s or 9s and just try to thinks that he's the boss poker pro and he's just going to shove you off a nice hand.
I figured, just judging from how I'd watched him play for the last hour and a half, if he fired the flop, he usually fired 3 streets. And I'm trying to think. I think twice he got raised and he folded. So that was the info I had. I was afraid if I raised, like you said, he would fold. I didn't think he was flatting aces there. I didn't think he was flatting kings. Unlikely he has queens because I've got one of them. And
so on the other hand, though, there is about probably $7K in the pot right now, which is like a 30% boost to your stack. So that that would be another argument for just raising and taking it down. Yeah, I think my first instinct and your first instinct, especially against this villain, is just flat and hope no king comes on the turn, I guess.
Yeah, that's the one card I didn't want to see was king. Ace or queen, obviously, and I feel pretty good, even better about my hand, but yeah, I didn't want to see a king. So for those reasons, I flat, and then the big blind, the girl folds, and the end of the gun, razor, he folds. So we go heads up to the turn, and the turn is a blank. It was either it completed the rainbow, and it was either a 4 or a 5. I think it was a 4.
Okay.
Because I remember thinking if he has something like 5-6, then now he just picked up an open ender or something. This guy was loose. And so anyways, now he fires 4,700
into a pot of about 9,500, or just about half pot. It sounds like, right?
Yeah, right about half pot.
Well, obviously you're calling.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't unless he's going to call with a weakish queen here. There's he should be folding everything. But again, the argument is there's just there is a lot of money in the pot, and yeah, I mean I don't see any reason not to just call, I guess.
Okay, I called.
So now let me see. You got 900 and 2,500 and 4,700 in there. So you still have about 15K behind here, right?
A little bit less than that. I think I've got maybe 12. Let's see.
Okay. The specifics, the exact numbers don't. I'm just trying to. You got a little bit less than half your chips in the pot, though. Yeah. I mean, I guess you're pretty much pot committed, regardless of what the river is. But just trying to see what that is. Okay, so you call.
I call. You know what? I just added it up right now. 7,000. Yeah, I probably have 12K behind, something like that.
Okay.
And then the river is 7 of clubs.
Okay.
And he moves all in. I'd seen him do this several times, moving all in. One time he never got called. The one time he did get called, he took the same line and he had pocket 5s and he hit a set of 5s on the river. But I don't know how much you can put into that.
Well, I think none of it really matters now. You've got a huge pot. You've got the top pair, top kicker, and yeah, you just can't let this pot go. It's calling whatever, calling 12,000 to win 30,000 or whatever the hell it is. I don't even know.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, right? I mean, unless you're a guy who talks about live reads a lot. I don't. Even though I call myself a field player, and I never really break it down. I just kind of go by gut sometimes, whether they like their hand or not. But what was your first reaction? Were you like, "Fuck"? This guy has it, or how quickly did he act?
He acted pretty quick. I would say within about 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's quick.
That's quick, yeah. My feel was that he thought he had the best hand. Now, but what my brain kept telling me was nothing makes sense. Aces and kings don't make sense to me. unless he flatted with aces there, but that's just not like him, at least from what I've seen him play so far, but who knows, people mix it up. But none of the hands that I could pull, made sense,
Right. Quad threes, maybe. I'm not,
Even flatting there, though, with threes, I think is bad.
Probably, yeah.
With the shorter stacks behind on the button and the small blind, I couldn't pick a hand that made sense. And maybe I should have gone with my live read because I went with he thought he had the best hand, but then on the other side of the coin, I'm like, well, he might think he has the best hand with king queen or queen jack there. I don't know. I've been pretty active too, not nearly as active as him. But
queen jack, he's definitely like turning into a bluff here. You can't think that. Yeah. You can't think that is good. Or if he's got queen king or queen jack or queen king queen, I mean, he should be check calling or check folding, I would think. But you never know. It's one of those things. Of course, if he is going to check, if he is going to call your shove, then it's better just for him to shove himself, even if it's a weakish queen. But yeah, he could be giving a few chips away. You might only bet 7,700 on the river, and he could, even if he's planning on calling, he can save himself 4K in chips. But yeah, with no draws out there, your hand looks pretty face up. I mean, you've got a queen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you got to call. There's just too many chips in there. Although if you fold, you still got 25, 30 bigs. I think. Yeah, I mean, I might be able to find a fold, 10 left in a tournament where the average stack is, Yeah, I mean, that shouldn't matter, of course, but, yeah, I'm not folding here.
Okay. I didn't either. I called, and, he flipped over pocket sevens. So he took the exact same line that he did with the pocket fives. He hit a set on the river.
Nice, Steve, you jackass. How'd you not? No, obviously. I think you played. Yeah. I think you played it fine. I think those are just two hands where you.
Okay.
You kind of ran into it. Obviously, in retrospect, if you raise either flop or turn, you take it down.
Flop or turn, he's done. Yeah.
And there was a lot of chips in there. And the way you're describing it, you liked your table. You were playing well. You were stealing some pots. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, but like you said, you've seen him fire 3 streets. So if he's someone who's capable of firing 3 streets on a bluff, then yeah, just flatting the turn makes the most sense.
I felt so sure I was ahead the whole way. I didn't want to blow him off his hand. I wanted to get as much value as I could. And then on the river, I thought, he thinks he has the best hand right now. Well, what makes sense? Nothing makes sense here. And, yeah, maybe I should have gone with my read there. Maybe I was kind of shaken up by my misread with the nines. That, I don't know, I was questioning I don't know.
I mean, you could even argue, again, the under the gun raise, that if somebody flats, that this should be a 3-better fold. That you don't want to see a flop with this either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
4 or 5 ways because, as it turns out, you got the perfect flop. But
yeah.
you could get, queen 10, deuce of hearts. One of those kind of things where, 2 people make a run at the pot and you're like, I probably still could be good here. Somebody's got a flush draw, someone's got a weaker queen.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can argue that you could just let that one go, even depending on how active the opener's been and, the likelihood of, I don't know, ace queen's a pretty hand. It's hard to let that go.
Especially on that board. That was, no draws, no nothing out there.
I don't know. Yeah, again, it shouldn't each hand should be like independently played. It shouldn't really matter on the previous hand, but, you just lost a pretty good sized pot. You got 50 big blinds. Maybe I should have maybe just let that one go.
Yeah, I was thinking about that after with the queens. My mind wasn't quite right because after she showed the ace of diamonds. That's normally a point where I get up and as you call it, walk around the table. You know what I mean? Just like walk away for a hand, come back, and make sure you're clear before you play the next one. And maybe I should have done that there.
Right. Well, you got to see a flop with a premier hand and hit the flop, and we're good the whole way. So it's just unlucky, really.
Yeah. I was wondering if he would do the same thing if he didn't hit his 7. He said he wouldn't. He said, I was shutting down unless I hit a 7.
Yeah, I think. It looks like you've got a queen and you are pot committed.
Yeah.
This is one of those. Carlos is so good talking about pre-flop ranges. That's one of those spots where I'd much rather have like pocket 6s than ace queen. You know what I mean? Because you're deep enough to set mine, and it's one of those things where you're going to be, it's going to be very easy on the flop. You either have a monster or you have nothing. For the most part. If you have 3, 4, 5, but in multi-way, if you're seeing it 4 ways. So as it turns out, you got the perfect flop for queens, and you're so sure that especially after the end of the gun raiser folds, obviously. You're pretty confident you got the best hand. So that was it, huh?
That was it, yeah. I've got another interesting hand, at least as far as live reads go. This was from the first one I played, the Venetian Deep Stack, the one I got 38th in. I got, let's see, the levels are 200, 400 with a 50 ante. And the villain is, in this hand, he's in, he's in middle position. He raises up to 1200, which is 3 bigs. And he's a 45-year-old guy. He travels a lot. He looks like he does pretty well for himself. Knows how to play cards, but plays a little bit too loose and makes bad folds. Like he'll, he folded kings on a queen high, flop. The other guy showed ace queen. I would have called with kings there. So he is able to lay hands down, which is kind of prevalent for this. He travels to Dubai, talks about how, you could get girls over there for all night for like $2,000 or something like that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that doesn't sound like.
Do you have his phone number?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. I would call him business associate is what I would. Okay, but anyways.
And so he raises 1200. Late position calls 1200, and I've got Jack of Diamonds, Jack of Hearts, the 2 red jacks in the small blind. Now, what would you do here? Would you just flat, or would you raise, or
how many big blinds you have?
Probably 50.
50. Yeah, I'm probably just flatting out of position.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously you're ahead of both the opening and the flatting range. But playing jacks out of position can be dicey. It's one of those things, if it's 25 big blinds, it's to me it's pretty easy. It's 3-bet, call it off. But with 50, I'm never really. You got to ask yourself, what are you doing if they 4-bet? If they pop it back.
Probably folding.
You're not.
Maybe calling.
I was going to say you can't be calling. You either got a 5-bet rip or
fold.
Yeah, I think.
If you're calling, you're basically just trying to set mine then, or bluff on a
yeah, I don't know. Again, us internet guys, we're used to having answers there. How often they fold the 3-bets, how often they. But yeah, you're going to take it down a lot of times with a 3-bet, and obviously folding is the only one we're not considering here.
No.
I like to know, I like to have a feeling against my competition and know if I'm going to be 50 big blinds. I think in a tournament is just too much to get it in with jacks. So if I'm not willing to call the 4-bet rip, then I'd rather just flat because I want to see a flop with jacks.
Okay, maybe this is where I'm playing too big a pots because I 3-bet. I 3-bet to 3,100. So he raised 12, late position called 12. He'd been very active though.
That, by the way, it's really small sizing there.
Ah, is it too small, you think? Okay.
It should be normally with one raiser, you'd be out of position, you'd be raising to like 3x, you'd be raising like 3,600. So with another person in the pot, that's really, I would make it like 48 to 5,500 even.
Okay.
So I really don't like your sizing there. Although to them that could look like you're at the very top of your range, that you got like aces or kings and you're trying to keep them in the pot or induce a shove or something. But that sizing is definitely. You said 1,200 to 3,100.
Yeah.
I mean they're getting a ridiculous price to call that. You get 24.55 plus the big blind 5,900 plus the antes, so they're over 6,000. So they're getting over 3-1 for a call. So they're almost both obligated to call.
Well, there's with the blinds and antes, there's 1,050 in the pot, and then with those two, with the 1,200 and 1,200, that's 334.50 in the pot.
Plus your raise.
Oh, plus my raise. Yeah, you're right. Okay.
I think my numbers are about right. Yeah, but there's over 6,000 in the pot. And they only got to call 1,700, so they're getting 3.5 to 1. So that's the thing that jumps out at me right away in that hand.
Okay. All right.
It's either, you got to raise bigger there, I think.
Okay.
But, I mean, unless, you're trying to find out unless you think these guys are going to play face up and they're only going to 4-bet, massive hands, then I guess you could say you have saved yourself money if you were planning on folding to a 4-bet because you've put the minimum in. But that would be a very non-standard, raise size there.
Okay.
It should be probably, 4 to 5x, I think. Especially out of position. Okay. But anyways, so you raise.
I raise. The guy in late position, he calls with a lot of stuff, so I figured he could have it like 9-7 suited here. He was total calling station, very rarely raised unless he had it. This guy, the guy who traveled to Dubai, the villain.
The whoremonger.
Yes, he raises with a really wide range. So I was pretty sure if he didn't 4-bet me, I was ahead. He called, the villain called, late position folded. So now we got 82.50 in the pot, and the flop comes down ace-2-8 rainbow, and it's on me. What would you do at this point?
I kind of like, this is a spot where I like kind of check raising. I mean, again, it's pricier if he has ace-king, because rather than just c-betting 4,400, you're check raising to 13K. I mean, how many chips do you have to start?
Let's see, 40, about 20K.
Well, yeah, I guess you got to c-bet, and then, but you're so, especially if it's a guy with a lot of money, who's on the looser side. If he's decent at all, he can float with anything, and know you're going to probably shut it down on the turn. So this is a spot where I do like to check raise quite a bit. That's for some reason. That's just the first thing that jumps in my mind. It looks just so much stronger than the c-bet. Although it depends on what kind of player. A lot of these players, if you think they're going to be, if they don't have an ace, they're always going to fold. Then, c-bet it and hopefully take it down.
Okay. My read when the flop hit, I probably should have said this before, was that he liked it. He liked the ace. I don't know if his eyes moved or kind of got wide or what it was, but I thought he had an ace. And so I checked, and he bet 3,000, and I thought I might be able to get him off it. I don't know if it was the kings that he folded before to the queen high board or what it was. I think he did not want to look dumb, is what it really boiled down to, because he was talking about how much poker he'd played and these tournaments he'd won, and he was kind of the guy that was always talking at the table, and I think he did not want to look dumb, was part of it. But I called, thinking I might be able to take it away from him.
Okay, what is he, right now you just got to stop though. It looks like you don't have an ace, probably.
Okay.
Or you're slow playing ace-king.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It looks, your hand seems kind of face up there.
Okay.
That's why I like either c-betting and saying I have an ace, or check raising and saying, sorry, I've got an ace and I'm ready to get it in here, which would be kind of pricey with your stack, obviously. You got to click it back for half here. But, I don't check raise that often, but it's often in like spots just like this. Like there's one over. There's my range is stronger than his range because I 3-bet, and that ace hits. Shouldn't have that many aces in his range really, because ace king and ace queen is this guy the sort of guy who's going to get it in, or not necessarily?
I think he would have 4-bet with ace king, possibly ace queen.
You gave him such a great price, though. I mean, even ace jack, ace 10, any suited ace. He's got
the size that I made it. I think he's going to call with any ace.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to. So, okay, so 3,000, you call.
I call. The turn. So now we got a little over 14K in the pot, 14,250, and the turn is the king of clubs. And so now there's 2 clubs on the board. It's ace to 8 of clubs and then the king of clubs. And at this point, I check again, and he bets 3,000 again, the same bet that he did on the flop. And at this point, it really now looks to me like he has a weak ace. And a couple of reasons for that is, one, his look on the flop, and then his same bet on the turn. And I remember listening to, I think it was Jonathan Little, and he said that whenever, a non-pro makes one bet on the flop and then the same exact bet on the turn, it usually means that he has like a marginal hand, something like top pair with a weak kicker or like middle pair. And so at this point, I went with what I felt, and so I check raised him. He bet 3,000, and I re-raised to. I check raised him to 11,500. And he thinks for a while, and then he folds and he shows an ace. And then that was how that one played. I basically, as soon as the ace came out, I knew that my pair of jacks were basically 7-5. There was nothing.
Right.
But
well, if that was your first instinct, I would have been. If you felt pretty strongly he's going to have an ace, I'd be just check folding and being stack preservation, But, you played it well. You took it down. When you flatted on the flop, was that kind of your plan, or would this just come to you kind of by instinct? It was his bet sizing on the turn that made you raise?
It was the bet sizing on the turn that made me sure that my read on the flop was right.
Right.
And I
so if he bets 6,000 on the turn, you're obviously done with it.
If he bet 6,000 on the turn, I'm not making the same move. But it was because of his same bet that was like, okay. I was 70% sure on the flop that he had like an ace with kind of a weakish kicker, because I think he would have re-raised me or called faster than he did. But then when he bet the same size on the turn, I'm like, no, I'm going with this one. And,
pretty poorly played by him. A weak ace should always be checking back there, unless you're committed to going with it. Obviously, bet small, and if he shoves, okay, F it. I got top pair.
Yeah.
We know that would be for the amateur. That is a line I take where like my turn sizing sometimes seems a little too small, trying to induce people. So you gotta. But here you saw it for exactly what it was. So, congratulations. That was a nice pot.
Yeah, that was a good one. That kind of propelled me up a little bit and got me even further into the tournament. I got another one from there's the Rio Deep Stack. After I placed in the Venetian one and busted, it was at. What time was it? I think we started at like 11 and...
Does this story involve Dubai hookers by any chance?
No, it doesn't.
Okay,
Would you like it to?
I'll pretend to listen. Go ahead.
Okay. After that, I went over the Rio Deep Stack. It started at 3 o'clock, and I think I got there around like 3:45 or something. And bought into that. I had this was kind of an interesting hand. I didn't realize, I used to play only the Rio Deep Stacks for the last like 5 years, and I never realized until this year how much of a turbo it is. Because the blinds go up, they skip a lot of levels, it's 30 minutes, and Yeah, I mean, the blinds go from like 4 and 800 to 6 and 12. And, so if you're sitting there with 25 big blinds, all of a sudden, one hand later, you got 15.
Oh, it's a turbo, right? I mean, to go through 1,200 people in one day, I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. It was a turbo, yeah. And, anyways, I had sat down at this, it was like I kept getting the end of the row, like I'd get at one table and then, an hour later they'd, bump me to like four tables up, and 30 minutes later then I'd get bumped 4 more tables up, and they just kept breaking, so this was like my third table, and, we're only a few hours into it. And, I'd been at this table probably 10, 15 minutes maybe, and villain, in this hand had been really active. And the levels were 4 and 800, with a 100 ante. And so the standard raise size here was anywhere from min-raise 1,600 to probably 21. I've got, 21,000. Okay. So I have,
26 big blinds. Yeah.
26 bigs. This time when he raises, because he'd been raising, just in the 10 or 15 minutes that I was there, so we'd probably seen 6 to 8 hands, maybe not even that many. He'd raised, like 4 times.
Okay.
So he was above 50% for the short time I was there. Maybe he was getting hands, I don't know. But, very active. And this time when he raised, instead of raising the normal amount, he grabbed, 2 yellow chips. So he grabbed 2,000 chips, and then he just stuck his hand down on the black chips, the 100 chips, and he picked up as many as would fit in one hand, and then he threw those out there into the pot, with the 2 yellow ones.
Okay.
So, as I could tell, the raise looked to be like around 33 to 3,500. He grabbed almost a full stack and threw it out there with the 2 yellow chips.
Right.
And, anyways, it folds around to me. I'm in the big blind, and I've got, the 2 black 4s. What would you do in this spot with that information?
I'm sorry, what position was he in?
He was, under the gun plus 2.
Fold.
He's fold. Okay.
Yeah, you can't really set mine here. It's not profitable.
No.
I mean, unless you have a read on the guy that he's just very passive post flop, and if he doesn't have top pair, you can steal it from him. So you're not getting the right set mining odds. And, yeah, I think shove or fold, probably. I mean, I guess a call is not terrible. I mean, you can, if you think you can steal it from him post flop. I mean, I don't know what to make of the bet sizing. I mean, if I tweak my bets, I'll make the bet sizing a little higher. And of course it should be consistent. It usually means my hand's stronger. Especially against a weaker table, who I think is just not going to be paying attention kind of thing. I've got king 10. I got to see a flop with this. You know what I mean? Might as well get a few more dollars in there and maybe, reduce the chances if you got the aces that, 4 or 5 people hit the flop. So, and that, also maybe the way he just picks it up and throws it in there like he doesn't give a shit. I would also be tempted to think that's less a sign of weakness and more of a sign of strength, that he's trying to look like he doesn't give a damn, or he's casual about the game. Okay. That's just my first instinct, but, obviously you've got a shit ton of fold equity here, and you got a pair. And, so, what did you decide to do?
Well, as quick as he did it, I thought, okay, to me his hand looked face up. It looked to me like ace 10 or ace jack. Because with ace king or ace queen, I don't think he would have done that. He would have thought longer. He'd looked at it real quick, just grabbed 2 chips, and then palmed as many of the black ones as he could and just tossed them out there. And I thought, I got a pair. I'm ahead of that. And maybe I'm wrong, and he did that with like pocket 5s or pocket 6s. But
what's your read? Would he fold to a middle pair? Is he going to fold pocket 8s to a shove here?
I think 8s he would call, but I think 7s and below he would fold.
Yeah, I don't know how you can range him down to just ace 10 or ace jack. And, you know, I'm always careful, too. If I have aces, say, you know, if someone raises under the gun and I have ace, if I have aces, UTG +2 or something, I don't want to sit there and look at the aces and double check and take more time than I normally would. I would try to just throw in a call as quick as possible. Or raise. I mean, you know, if you're, yeah, I don't know. I'm not convinced that him moving so quickly would be a sign of, you know, again, it's player dependent, but, like the fact that he's moving so quickly, yeah, with a lot of players that's true. If they look at aces or kings, they're going to stop and think about it and maybe do a little theatricality. Do I want to be in this pot? Do I not want to be in this pot? And really think a little more deeply about their bet sizing, so. But yeah, my first instinct is just
let it go.
Well, just how he picks up the chips and throws it in there. I don't know how I would range him differently than if he's been doing it a different way before. But you might be right.
It looked to me like he had a hand that he felt like he should raise with, but he didn't want to do anything more than just win the blinds. And I felt like that was why he raised more instead of raising to like 21.
Okay. Yeah,
that was my thought, was that it's like he looks down, ace 10 or ace jack, that's a pretty hand. I'm probably going to be out of position for this. You know what? I'm going to raise more just so that I can just win the blinds and go on to the next hand. And that was what I got from what he did.
Okay. And if he's obviously folding some pairs and folding ace jack, then it's a highly profitable shove.
I think so, yeah. And so I thought for a while. I probably thought for 30 or 40 seconds, because as soon as I looked down, I'm like, oh, this is a fold. But I didn't move like I was going to fold. I just looked at it and I'm like, oh, this is a fold. And I'm like, well, hang on, think about this for a sec. You have a pair. And then when I started thinking about it, I'm like, you know, his hand looks kind of face up here to me. You know, why would he raise like that if he wanted to get action, you know? And so anyway, so I shoved. And part of this had to do, too, with we're at 4 and 800 level, and I look over at the clock, and it's like a minute and 30 seconds. So within one hand or two, we're going to be right back up to 600, 1200.
Sure.
And I'm going to have 15 bigs instead of 26. And
well, that would be even a stronger argument for shoving there and taking 5K and adding it to your stack, you know.
Yeah. And so I shove it in, and he flips over ace jack offsuit, and I hold. Now, I kind of want to run this one by you, because I'm not sure if this is one of those things where I ranged his hand down so narrowly and I happen to be right, and so maybe I'm just kind of like, how can I describe it? Like, I'm reinforcing something that I'm not that good, you know, as far as like ranging hands, and this just proved me right, so I think I am, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you don't know his calling range. My suspicion is that's probably one of maybe the weakest hand he's calling with, unless he might be calling with ace 10 suited and king queen suited. I don't know.
Okay.
And but if he's calling with ace jack, he's definitely calling with pocket sixes.
You know, that's a good point too. He could have had like king queen suited. Yeah, he could have had that. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's a close to a neutral, you know, shove, but you know,
shove or fold might be equal about.
Yeah, I mean, I still like the fold there from the. You said he was UTG +1. What was he?
UTG +2.
UTG +2. Yeah, I'd be leaning towards the fold. Just try to preserve my fold equity.
Okay.
That's.
Yeah, a bunch of people were surprised when I did that with fours, and then when he finally called and showed the ace jack, he asked me, he's like, how do you do that with fours? And before I could say anything, and I don't know what I would have said if I had answered, but the guy just to his right said, well, when you pick up that many chips and just throw them in like that without even counting, he knows that you don't want to see a flop with that hand, so it's probably pretty weak. He's got a pair, he's ahead, so why not? And I was like, you know, he said that pretty well. I think that's exactly what I was thinking.
Right. Well, I mean, he doesn't want to see a flop with pocket sevens either.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, so he could be putting that in. I mean, the question is, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, like there, your live read is relevant more than than I could say. But like, I would be, of course, you know, pairs are good. I would be much more likely to do that if, like somebody else flatted probably. Then you got more chips in the pot. Of course, then you got two different people who can knock you out and call you too. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, those 4.5, 5 big blinds are not insignificant at this point. That's a significant little boost to your stack. So I think it was a decent risk. It's hard to get a pair. You only get it 1 out of every 17 hands.
Yeah.
But you might have just got lucky to fall into the bet. But if you really think you can take the top of his range out, if he's always kind of pausing and taking time with ace, king, queens, jacks, kings, aces, if you can take those hands out of his range, then it's definitely a very profitable shove. If your read is correct there.
Okay. All right. I got one more hand. This is a quick one. It's at the next level. It's 600, 1200, 200. I just got moved. After that hand, the guy came around again, so I've been at this table for 15 minutes, comes around with racks and says, everyone go to your new table. So I go across the room this time, I think to the white section, and we're at 600, 1200, 200 ante. I've been at this table for probably about 20 minutes or so. It's getting close to when the next level is going to go up, and the next level is 800, 1600.
Okay.
And I've got 36,000, so I've got 30 bigs.
Okay, that's a nice stack for this time of the tournament.
It is, yeah. And under the gun player, he's an older guy. He's not too old. I mean, he's probably 55 if I had to put like one age on him. No more than 60. And no less than 50. So I'll say 55. He'd been pretty tight. He's talking about how, I gotta find something here and shove it and this and that. But I know in those spots, like on the button and stuff, I would be shoving with like jack, a jack with like a 7 and he had 7 bigs, and he's missing spots that I know he should be taking.
He's 7 big blinds under the gun.
7 big blinds under the gun.
Okay.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to say is he's not playing correct push fold. He's playing way too tight.
Right.
He's he'll have a weak ace in late position with 9 bigs and not do anything with it but fold. He's not following the Nash chart at all, right?
Right.
Okay. So he's got 7.25 bigs. He's got 8,700 under the gun, and I've been playing with him for about 20 minutes, and he's been talking about this the whole time, how he needs to find a hand, and like that, and then he shoves 7 1/4 bigs under the gun.
Okay.
We're 9-handed. I'm under the gun +2, so under the gun +1 to my right, he folds. And then it's on me with 30 bigs, and I have ace-queen off suit. What do you do here?
I rip it in.
Really? Okay.
Rip it in and deal with the consequences. If somebody picks up a hand, they pick up a hand.
So you've got 1, 2, 3. You've got
6 players behind you.
6 players behind you.
But you've also got 12, 13K in the pot, a 33% boost to your stack, right?
Okay.
1,800, okay. 9,500 plus 1,800. Well, you got a little over, you got 10,600 in the pot. Ace queen, most people are gonna, I don't know. I mean, even if people are calling with hands like, 9s or 10s, that's not awful. If, obviously sometimes someone behind you is gonna have a monster hand. Or someone's gonna call with a pair and the under the gun guy is gonna have an ace and you're gonna be, not have a shit ton of equity. But, I'm never flatting there, that much I know.
Okay.
Unless you're flatting to induce, unless you're flatting to call a shove. And,
I think that's bad if you just flat there. I felt the same way. I think flatting's bad. And
if you flat and someone else flats, Then you've got, I'm definitely ripping any flop. Maybe sounds crazy, but at that point there's going to be 27K in the pot, and you're going to have almost exactly the pot size bet. And I'm sorry, I just need that pot at this point of the tournament.
Okay.
Maybe that's kind of crazy too, because you still have over 20 bigs. But so whether you flat or ship, like I said, well, neither of us like flatting. I don't know. I think it's a rip, but I guess if this guy you're saying is so tight that he's at this point he's maybe not even shoving a baby pair. You're saying. I mean, what is? I guess obviously that's the obvious question. What is his range of hands you're putting him on here to shove?
I would say he's shoving 5s plus, ace jack plus.
He's not.
Maybe ace 10. I think he would fold ace 9.
You don't think he's not shoving king 10 suited here?
Maybe like queen 10 or king queen. Man, I mean, he just the spots that he should shove, like before, like he'd be like, oh man, I folded a weak ace there, and I just needed something a little bit more, and I'm like, bro, you have 9 bigs and you were in the cutoff.
Well, if you have a table where people are making a lot of folding errors, that could be a strong argument for just folding here and just, you're going to make so many, win so many chips just ripping it on people who are, just don't know the shove fold stuff. But I don't know.
Well, the other guys weren't bad, but he was definitely the one that was, he was definitely the soft spot at the table. He's just playing way too tight.
I'm still leaning to rip it in here, but I mean, if you think his range is that narrow, where you only have the ace jack, you only have you've only got 12 hands that you're definitely ahead of. If he's even folding the Broadway combinations and stuff, I can't imagine him being that tight. I mean, he's got to be somewhat aware that.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I gave him too much, or didn't give him enough credit.
But like you said, I don't know. I mean, if this is, if this is a big tournament for him, maybe. I mean, like 3/4 of the field is gone. This is exciting. He's running deep, and he's just looking down at, he's looking down at king queen off or ace, like you said, ace 9 or ace 10, and he's like, I'm going to find a better spot.
Yeah, to me, it felt like I almost wish I had 25 bigs, or I had like 50. Because I felt like having 30 I couldn't flat. I felt like with 50 bigs I could flat, and with 25 I could rip. But I felt with like 30, it just felt, I thought I was only going to get called by better than ace queen, if I shove.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, right? And, I don't know, I folded.
Okay. Did his shove get through?
His shove got through, yeah. And then once it got through, I thought, well, maybe I missed some value there.
If you were in late position, if you were, cut off or button, I think it's a must shove at that point.
Yeah. Now, if I was in late position, then that would.
And it's pretty uncomplicated. But yeah, I had a similar one in the Planet Hollywood, under the gun shove, and I was UTG +1, and I folded ace queen, and then somebody in later position called with ace jack, and the guy had like king queen or something, and got the ace jack 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, in those swift moving, normally you say we'll find a better spot, this, that, the other thing. And those swift moving, in the turbos, if you're ahead of the guy's range, you're ahead of the guy's range, and you rip it in, I think.
You got to take those spots.
But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's a marginal spot, I guess, because he's if he's as tight as you say.
Yeah. Okay.
So what is your poker plan? When are you leaving town? You got a few more tournaments on?
Yeah. I hadn't even thought about what I'm going to play tomorrow or Friday, because this one that I bageled today was a 3-day event, and with my little bit of cash, I've still got, I think, like $1,000 or 1,100 left, and I came out here with 1,500, and I think I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play tomorrow and Friday. I don't know what yet though. I haven't even
look at the schedule.
Yeah, I haven't even looked it up. I didn't want to think past this tournament because I wasn't sure, what. If I went all 3 days, then I wouldn't have to worry about it.
There might be like a $400 at the Venetian or a $300 Planet Hollywood. Look at the schedule and see what's good.
Yeah, I think I like the ones that start around like 11 or noon because then you don't get home at 4 o'clock in the morning. But the places that I've been looking at are what are the good ones? Aria has a series going. Bellagio does too, but they're all 1Ks and stuff, and I shot my wad for that one. Golden Nugget, Venetian, obviously, Planet Hollywood. Planet Hollywood, I like the room, but you have to park so far away from the room that from the poker room that I can't go down to my car and like get something to eat and then come back up to the poker room in the 15-minute break. And whereas the Venetian and all the other places, it's real easy. You can walk out there, go to your car, spend like 5 or 10 minutes, and then get back to the room in no time.
You're such a goddamn nit. Just buy yourself some beef jerky.
Actually, I have a bunch of beef jerky. I made it. But
you make your own beef jerky?
I make my own beef jerky. Yes, I probably brought I don't know, a couple pounds.
Wow.
Of beef jerky. But I make these smoothies. And I keep them in a cooler in the car. And then when I go out to the car, then I'm able to down one every other break. I have basically like a 400-calorie meal, and then I go back in. But at Planet Hollywood, I get to carry all the shit in my backpack, and after several hours, it's like warm and nasty, and I don't like it.
Right.
So maybe I'm being too particular about that, but I like my routine and I have my ritual, and when it gets screwed up by them not being able to park close to the room, I'd rather just play somewhere else.
Just running downstairs and getting a Gatorade instead would be mine. But you are a man of rituals.
Yes.
And like hugging yourself and looking in the mirror prior to poker sessions and everything else. I don't know what to make of you, Steve. So I'm debating whether to come back next week actually and play, or just wait till the main event. I think if I come back next week and were to bagel a few tournaments, to use your that might put a damper on my main event thing where I might want to sell off a bigger piece of myself. Like maybe I should just kind of be trying to step away and relax the maximum and spend the most time with my son possible. But the World Series of Poker only comes around once a year. And I've got a backer, and there's some decent tournaments this week. I forget there's a 2,500 and a 1,500 and I think a $3,000 six max. I'd really love to play in the $5,000 turbo. That's that's a pretty big buy-in. So I haven't even talked to my backer. For all I know, they're they now have 40% of me in the main event. They might not want any more of me than anything else. So I definitely would not even bother coming next week unless I could sell half my action for whatever, that is $9,000 buy-in. So that'll be a factor too. I'll have to think about that. But looks like I'm definitely coming back for the main event, for sure.
I know. Cool.
And whatever. I'm home. Back to reality. I got some I went to a doctor, I got some sleeping pills today.
Oh, did you need them?
I thought that was interesting. My brother, I had a couple tweets about 3 hours sleep last night. And my brother's like, you might have lost money because of that shit,
Yeah.
And I didn't really think about that because I'm so used to playing poker when I'm tired and then but you never.
Can't you just get sleeping pills at like Vaughn's or whatever?
I don't know. What do you can get like Benadryl?
They have like Tylenol PM or whatever?
I don't think that works as well as like sleeping pills. But anyways, my main event preparation, that's about the extent of it.
Okay.
And, I don't know what else is, shaking on my end. I'm just lazy. I got a bunch of shit I gotta figure out. I gotta do some taxes and, got to figure that kind of stuff out. And, you know, I'm not going to try to go through one podcast without bitching about what am I going to do with my life here. But that's, it was nice to get I mean, I love meeting some of the guys out in Vegas for sure.
That was cool.
And,
that was cool.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, we've had the same conversation 100 times here. You know, how do you make it as a poker pro? And there's some people who are definitely doing it.
Yeah.
Whether they're just smarter and better than me, I think might be part of the component, but they have kind of gotten certain things figured out, you know. So I got some, well, I wasn't even asking for advice, but just listening to people talk about, you know, their poker and, you know, their hourly and this and that and what they do to maximize their profits and, you know, so I definitely learned some, other than just, you know, having some good results out there. I'm positive about poker for a few other reasons, you know. And, I don't know if I don't go to Vegas next week, if I'll go back to the online grind and give that a shot. And, I don't know, I might be up on Twitch soon. Everyone there, and that was the one thing that everybody agreed upon, that I should be twitching.
Yes, you should. You should. Good. Good.
I don't know. Should I discuss one hand real quick, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm gonna give the spoiler right away and not even.
No, don't give the spoiler. It ruins it.
Well,
go for the hand analysis. I want to get this off the cuff.
Okay.
So you get a true perspective from me. If it'll taint my
okay.
You know, my comments.
Okay. Well, this one was all up on the WSOP blog and stuff. So most people who know me or probably listen to this kind of already know the hand. But what was interesting about it is, it's kind of, you know, well, we already know that no poker hand, or some poker hands, there's definitely a right answer, a wrong one. But this is one that I bounced off several pros, and they all had, or a lot of people whose opinion I respected, and they had some people who had some very different answers about how to play this.
Okay.
So this is the Millionaire Maker, day 3. And we're down to the final 5 tables.
Okay.
It's money time. And, my chips, I've been kind of, I was real unlucky for a lot of the day and was slowly chipping down. But then I got aces a couple times and got a couple doubles up and went from like the brink to back up to a pretty decent chip stack.
Okay.
And I think I immediately bluffed a few hands and lost some chips again. But anyways, to start this hand, it's at, 15,000, 30,000 with a 5,000 ante. And
Okay.
I am in the hijack position and it folds to me. And I have pocket 9s, and I have about 950,000 chips, so about 32 big blinds left.
All right, 950K, you said?
Yeah.
And what is that?
Pocket 9s.
31 big, something like that?
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if you need to. I don't know if the specific numbers will be, but yeah, I guess they're. So I'm obviously raising this hand.
Yes. It's folded to you, right?
It's folded to me.
Okay.
And this has been my standard raise. I raised to 65,000.
Okay.
Cutoff folds. The button calls. Villain number 1, the button. I wish I could remember the specifics about him. I think I had him out chipped, and he was a younger guy. 700,000 or 800,000 in chips, I'm going to say. I don't think he had been at the table long, but my theory was just, you know, young guy, probably aggressive, probably, GTO, competent. You know, most people running deep in this tournament were pretty good. There's a lot of superstars. This guy did not know, but, and so he calls the 65. And in the small blind is, Olivier Busquet. Famous, of course, player, one of the top guys out there. Yes. Yeah. He's actually the reason I think I play poker. I think I've gotten into that before. Mm-hmm. And he calls.
Okay.
And the big blind folds. Okay. So we got 65,000 times 3 is 195,000, and the big blind that folded is 225,000. And another 45,000 in ante, so we have 270,000 in the pot, I believe. I'm going off my head here, but I don't know if you're scribbling along, if that sounds about right.
That sounds pretty accurate.
And the flop is a 6 of diamonds, a 3 of diamonds, and a 2 of hearts.
Okay. Say that again. 6 of diamonds, 3 of diamonds, 2 of hearts?
Yeah. It's definitely 2 diamonds on the flop.
Okay.
And I'm ashamed to say I'm pretty sure I have, like the 9 of hearts and a black 9. I don't think I have the 9 of diamonds, so that people ask me afterwards, how do you not remember if you had a diamond or not? And I'm ashamed to say I cannot remember exactly.
Okay.
But I don't think it would have greatly altered my decision making here.
No, I don't think. I mean, just slightly.
Well,
not a whole bunch.
Got to see how the hand plays out, but yeah.
Okay. All right, and it's on Olivier. What's he do?
He checks.
Okay.
My read on the situation is.
And now it's on you.
Now it's on me. My read on the situation, I don't know, like I said, I haven't been playing the guy a lot, but I'm greedy here. I'm taking big pairs out of the button's range, and I think I've got him beat. And if I check to him, I think he's a player who's almost always going to take a shot at it.
Ah, okay.
So that is my plan here, is to check jam the button, who I have covered. I mean, if he had won the hand, I would have been crippled down to like 250,000, probably 8 or 9 big blinds.
Yeah.
But I think if I see bet, I'm taking it down a lot, and I want to be greedy here, and I think he's going to take a shot. Obviously, if he checks back, then there's a lot of turn cards which I don't like. But that was my plan, is to check jam.
You know, I kind of like that. Because you're pretty sure he's going to bet. Like, what percentage of the time would you say he's going to bet the?
I mean, there's no. My prediction was right, so we can't really say.
Okay.
You know, how much that it's. My wisdom or my read is correct. A lot of people ask the same thing. Well, I mean, how do you know he's checking there? I'm like, well, I didn't. I just. You mean,
how do you know he's betting?
Like how? Yeah, how do I know he's betting there? And I'm just like. I
don't know. I just felt it. Like, maybe you've seen him in this situation so many times.
Well, I haven't got to see him that much. I just felt it'd be standard here because Olivier is probably, it doesn't hit his range very well.
Yeah.
He should not be playing any, like, he could have a set, but he doesn't have 2 pair or a straight. There's no way he's calling with 6-3. Or 4-5 from the small blind. From the big blind, perhaps, when he's closing out the action.
Yeah.
But, and it looks like I've had a big ace and missed. And I'm just kind of, especially in a multi-way pot, usually an overpair is always c-betting there.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was my read. Like I said, I'm not necessarily reading his hand strength. I mean, he could have been slow playing queens, just like not wanting to see a flop with it or whatever. But I was willing to get it in with him. And I thought I was just going to be stealing money from him because I thought, it looks like the two of us are weak and he can just steal a pot.
Yeah, he's going to do that with King Queen or with Jack 10 or.
Well, he's going to do it with. He's just.
Whole range.
It doesn't matter what he has. Yeah, my theory was he was going to do it 75+% of the time there.
Okay.
So I check and he bets 80,000. Which is, of course, real small into that pot.
Yeah, that's really tiny.
So it looks like he's, really trying to steal it.
That might be kind of an overshove if you do that. Okay, what's Olivier do when he does that?
Olivier makes it 210,000.
Unexpected. Well, actually, maybe not. How much did you say? 201?
210,000. Olivier, by the way, has me covered. I want to say he started the hand with like 1.2, 1.3 million, but not a massive stack, by the way. I think the average right at this point is like 1.4 million or something like that. So all 3 of us in this hand are below average stacks at this point. Although none of us are short stacked either.
Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense for Olivier because if he's thinking along the same lines that you are, that this guy's probably going to do that with his whole range, he's the one that's most likely to have had something of that flop.
Olivier or the button?
Olivier.
Well, I just was saying the opposite. I mean, unless he's got a set. Like if it was 10-9, yeah, I don't think he's. My read was, well, Olivier's never bluffing here.
You don't think so?
No.
I think he could do that with ace 3 of clubs. He's basically turning it into a bluff, but he has something. Well, maybe not clubs. Maybe
I think
with like the ace of diamonds and
he's just
and 2 of diamonds or something, or maybe like ace 4 of diamonds.
Well, ace 4 of diamonds isn't a bluff. That's a monster hand.
Well, it's a semi.
I mean, he's got a straight flush draw.
Straight flush draw. I don't know. I wouldn't fold. I would jam it still.
Yeah, but just to go with, I'm still sticking to my read here that the button has nothing, but Olivier's got a hand here. I mean, there's no question in my mind. He's taking his time. He's thinking about his bet sizing, and yeah, I just don't think he's ever bluffing there. He has some sort of high equity hand. Again, he could have a set, but there's not that many combinations of sets in his range where there's a lot of combinations of diamonds, or just a decent amount.
Yeah.
He's calling with, ace 10 of diamonds, ace jack, ace queen of diamonds, all the Broadway hands, queen jack, maybe even queen 9, 9, 10 of diamonds. I don't know if he's calling with 8, 9 or the smaller diamonds. But, I knew he was raising. I felt pretty strongly, and I knew he wasn't bluffing. But I just thought he had a draw, and I decided I was going to jam. I also liked that I jammed immediately. That was my plan. Like the second he puts the money in, I'm jamming right away.
Okay.
I thought this was, I mean, I don't know if you're going to win like a leveling kind of thing, but it looks like I got aces or kings. So my theory was if he had jack 10 of diamonds or something where he had 2 overs, where he had 15 outs, somehow convince him that he only had 9 outs. And maybe he gets away with it. He can fold and still have $1 million in chips.
Yeah.
So that part of it, at least, I kind of like what I did there.
Yeah.
But I insta-rip, and the button quickly folds. Olivier, he takes a deep sigh. I mean, like the World Series, the blog says he tanked, called, but he's never folding here. He's getting too good of a price. He just wanted my stack counted just to make sure, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff. But it all takes about 30 seconds, and he calls, and he has the king jack of diamonds,
okay.
and 10 of diamonds on the river, and I'm knocked out, and Olivier takes third place for $600,000, which not that if I won this hand I would have, but if I won the hand I would have had over 2 million chips over the chip average, 70 big blinds, it would have been my high water mark. I started the day with 800 something thousand and had been just fighting just to get it over $1 million. 15
outs twice. He might have. Was he a favorite there?
Yeah,
on the flop?
He's a favorite.
Okay.
I mean, even if I see his hand face up and know that he's 54%, if he's 50,
you still got to take that.
He's 54% chance to win. If I knew his hand exactly,
you still got to do it.
Yeah, because I'm getting it's 900,000 to win with all the other money in there to win like a 1.4 million chip pot. Yeah. So, but it's interesting. I talked to a bunch of guys, and you had some very different views. People, smart people taking different positions. The one guy right away said it's an easy fold. This guy Yev, who I know, who's like a cash game, whiz, and and he's like, well, he said, well, if you can see his hand, you got to call. He's like, but he's like, you can't totally take sets out of their range. He's like, you can't, just because the button you thought there is stealing, the button's still going to wake up with a hand there sometimes. The button's still going to have some slow played big pairs, and it's going to have some sets.
Interesting.
So that's a factor. And, he agreed. I mean, I agreed to the 100%. He says, Olivier is definitely not bluffing here. He always has a hand. He either has ace 5 of diamonds, or, the straight draw, the over, or he's got, he's got exactly what he has. But he says, the fact that there are sets in both these guys' range, so you can't dismiss the fact that there is a chance I'm putting all my money in, drawing at about 10% to win.
Yeah.
And obviously, if one of them has a flush draw, and if they both go in, this is highly likely. If one is a set, one of them is a flush draw, then I have one out. the 9 of diamonds is no good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this guy says, but most of the TPE guys says, he's got to draw, rip it in there, and just, there's a lot of chips in there and you got to hold. I think most, a lot of people had just agreed with what I did and just said, well, you just got unlucky and, you read him as a draw, you knew where he was, you knew he needed a hand. It would have been nice if I had, if we were a little bit deeper maybe where, I had let some fold equity essentially at that point. It'd be interesting what he would do with, 9, 10 of diamonds. If I could have gotten a fold there. Well, I mean, I obviously have the blocker to the 9, or if he, I don't know if he's calling even with the small blind, 8, 7 of diamonds with 35 big blinds. I think he probably is.
You think so?
8, 7 of diamonds? You don't think so? He's got.
That might be. Maybe like 8, 9, 8, 7. That's kind of weak.
Well, it's not that much different than 8, 9. But I mean,
splitting hairs here.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't have that many diamond connections in his range, then we're dealing with 2 overs. I mean, he's definitely not calling with like ace 6 of diamonds. I don't think. The 2 cards have to work together, both as flush and straight possibilities, I think.
I would say he would do ace 5 of diamonds down to ace 2 of diamonds, and then beyond that, maybe like ace 9 to ace 10 plus.
Right.
But I think he's leaving out the 6, 7s. And
right, but there's a lot of combinations, though. 10 jack, 10 queen, 10 king.
Yeah.
Ace king, ace queen, ace king, Anyways, so it's funny, for a couple days I was thinking those were the 2 choices between fold or shove. And then I happened to run into some guy I know. Pete Rios is actually his name. He's one of the smarter guys I've met in poker. I joke with him. I said he's the Mexican Galfond. But and he without hesitation says, here's the hand. He said, I flat. And I got to say, it didn't even occur to me that was an option.
It didn't to me either.
And he said, you're telling him you know what he has. And you're telling him you have an overpair. And if that diamond doesn't come on the turn, this is your pot.
That's an interesting point.
And right away I thought, God damn it, that's brilliant. The one spot. And he's like, and the other people I told about, well, what if the button shoves? And Pete says, well, then you got a decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that point, I probably, there'd be so many chips in, I would have to then just say, okay, the button is the one with the draw. Or they both have draws or whatever. I mean, that's a tough spot, because if I call the 220, then I'm down to I still have 690 in my, I still would have, over 20 bigs, 23 bigs, so I guess I could fold. But he was agreeing with me. The button, he's like, the button you have to take almost all. The button never has a big pair. You almost have to take all the draws out of his combinations, because we're really putting the Olivier is much more likely to have the draws. And he was saying, listen, if you flat, you're letting him know that you know what he has and you're serious about this pot. And then if there's a brick on the river, if he wants to go ahead and shove where he just has 1 card coming, it's an easy call.
Yeah.
If he checks to us, it's probably an easy call. And then we're talking about all the different combinations. He's like, well, what if a king comes? He's like, king, I think you can get away from. An ace you can get away from. Like, what about a jack? He's like, if a jack's on the turn, he's taking all our money. So we're talking about all the different
turn
cards.
What about a queen?
Yeah, he's like, queen's like borderline. 10, no, we're not folding to a 10, not just 1 over.
Okay.
Not just something like, because, I mean, what 10s does he, yeah. I mean, but basically, if there's no diamond on the turn, we're taking this pot down 80% of the time. Yeah. Or, I mean, if we don't know what he's at, we could check behind on the turn, if he checks on the turn, and then on the river, when he bets, he's probably not going to pot it. He's going to probably bet 325, and we pay him off, and we still have 600K. We still have 20 big blinds left. But it would be really a very high variance move for, I forget what came on the turn. I think it was like a 7 of clubs, or it was a brick for him. And, so we don't know what's going to happen with the turn, but if he shoves in the turn, we're going to call. Cause we're, but on the flop, we're saying, okay, I know what you have. I don't need to win flips to win this tournament. And then if that diamond doesn't come, I mean, that's kind of hard for him to shove in, even though there's a shit ton of chips in there.
Yeah.
I mean, if he bets, then he's, so I just thought that was interesting. That was the line I liked most after I listened to it. Mainly because it would have solve the problem with his hand. Where, I think, I told a few other people this, they're like, no, he rips the turn. I said, when I call on the flop, he knows I know what he has. I'm waiting to see that there's no diamond coming off. So I don't think he can rip a non-diamond turn. Unless it's like an ace or a king. But as it turns out, he would do it with a 10 probably also. But, he wouldn't know where I had. When I call, it looks like I got a big pair. 10 might be no good for him.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Did anyone mention betting the flop? Or did they all
a lot of people, why not just c-bet? Then it kind of becomes easier. Then when, also Olivier might just flat. That might kind of control the size of the pot. Or the other way, he raises and then but it would be the same result. It's kind of a flop. If I c-bet and he raises, it's probably the flatting option is out the door. Then it's,
because for me, with no information until you told me your plan, I like your plan. But if it were me, I would have just c-bet the flop. You got 270 in the pot. I probably would have bet 150 to 190 and see what happened after that. If somebody rips, then you got a decision. If not, then you go from there.
Right.
But I liked your plan of check this to the button. Who's gonna bet? And you're right, he did. But then when Olivier did something, that was
right.
That's when that went out the window.
Well, because it knocked me out, I kind of like my decision as the third worst. I don't know if I'm being, but I really like the flat. Especially it's just because I didn't think about it. I talked to 10 people about it. No one even brought that possibility up. Yeah. And this player was right away. He's like, I'm flatting. You're letting him know that you have an overpair, and B, you know what he has.
Yeah.
So, this guy can't, really rep anything, on the, if he doesn't get a diamond on the turn, he kind of has to check give up. Or he can shove, but he knows at this point, I'm calling.
Yeah.
And he's a 2-to-1 dog.
Yeah.
So.
That's smart. I like
so
that.
anyways, I thought it was kind of interesting how, it seems like one of those basic hands, overpair, okay, late tournament, someone gets it in with the overpair, someone gets it in with the, the 2 overs in the draw, and, someone's gonna get lucky and someone's gonna get unlucky, but there were some options here to maybe play the hand a little differently, and, I knew what he had, I guess that's good.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, but,
made a deep run, dude, that's impressive. How many people were there, 70-something, 100?
Yeah, over 7,000 is all I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and you got 43.
Well.
That's fucking impressive, dude. That's good. That's good.
Well.
That is a hell of a run.
Didn't suck.
No.
It was good news, but,
how much did you come back ahead? What did you have to pay your backer, 20 or 25 or?
Yeah, well, there was a bunch of tournaments I didn't play in and had to return that with the markup and whatever. So, yeah, I gave the backer $25K, and they immediately gave me $5K back for 40% of my main event. So, yeah.
Cool.
I don't know how much I'm up.
And you got quite a bankroll, though. Really, this trip has solved a lot of problems.
Well,
for you,
it's postponed some problems.
You have no faith in yourself.
No, but this is the same amount of money I had 6 months ago.
Exactly.
All it's done, it's gotten me back to where I was, where I'm not desperate for a minimum wage job, and I'm giving.
And what have you learned in the last 6 months?
Nothing, Steve.
There was that dramatic pause. I'm like, tell me.
I've learned. I've learned that I'm not good at cash. Obviously, I'm done with that.
Okay, that's good.
Or, if I don't, I'm not going to play cash unless I've invested some time into thinking about it. And I might just have some character flaws, which just make me as a, I don't know. Carlos, gave a lot of good, solid recommendations for cash. And it's kind of funny how you and Carlos, the two knit brothers, you always both give me the same advice, but I had a backer, and Carlos is that, yeah, that's smart. That's how you got to do it. Anytime you play a 1K or higher, get someone to help buy you in, and you're reducing variance. I'm like, Carlos, the reason I had a backer is because I was fucking broke. If I had $15,000, I would have come out here and bought all these tournaments on my own, and I'd be, be $22,000 richer. But yeah, I'm going to, we'll see. I don't know. I'm still I got this negative thing about poker here, which is you're just so damn optimistic about it and love the game. And I do too, but it's just you've got to. I don't know. We could go back to like Dusty Smith talking in the loop and stuff, but I came back today and tried to read a book and I just couldn't do it. My mind just can't concentrate on something like that.
You read a book on what, poker?
No, just a novel.
Oh, okay.
There's whole parts of my brain which aren't functioning anymore.
They're all numbers and math.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to.
Shit like that or what?
I don't know. And it's just to survive here. I mean, I'm going to really have to go back to the grind. And it's not like simply where I turn a computer on and I start printing money. I mean, I'm going to have to constantly be working on my game. Go deeper into the, or maybe take another shot at live cash. Carlos recommended a training site, which I might take a look at. And
what Crush Live Poker with Bart Hanson?
Yeah, that's the one. I could take another shot at that. It still seems like, but like I said, I met some people, poker's doable. I think, maybe. You know what I mean? So, if I'm hyper vigilant of my my emotional, mental, health. But, this vacation, I should say, whatever you want to call this work, trip to Vegas, could have gone very differently. Like I said, the very first tournament, I got it in, Jacks against Queens, hit the river. If I lose that tournament, maybe the next day when I got knocked out of a 1K, rather than running over to the Planet Hollywood and getting another score, I would have said, God, I'm fucked, and gone and gotten drunk. And, so things got, I got on the right. I mean, on the other hand, obviously things could have gone really good. I could have, my nines could have held there, and you never know. I'll definitely be back to Vegas, and then we'll, I don't think this does drastically. I mean, I was just so depressed / all sorts of problems from my financial stuff that I told you every time I stepped into Bed Bath & Beyond, I felt like I was, walking to the gallows. So I will not have that experience at least for a few months.
Good. Did you quit your job or what'd you do?
Yeah. Well, I tried to keep it, but I gave him very short notice. I said, someone just gave me money to play poker. I have to go. This isn't, I gave him like 10 days notice. They said, well, if you gave us 2 weeks notice, we could have, but the schedule's already been made. You have to fulfill your obligations on the schedule. And it's funny, they have so high a turnover there. Everybody's changing every 3 days because you're only paying $10 an hour. I thought, like I said, well, maybe I should come back in a month and you haven't gotten anyone better.
What'd they say to that?
No, but they wanted me gone there. So, they couldn't keep my job, I guess. So, it's not the end of the world, although I still, it's still probably some sort of job here. I don't know. But, there's limited options for me. Like poker is not just, the joy of playing a game for a living, but at this point it's like my most practical way to make money. And, like I say, this won't be even though these two nice scores, 46,000, 29,000, I feel confident sometime within the next couple of years there's going to be one a lot bigger than that. If I can somehow just, survive till then and be smart with my money.
Well, you could put 5K on Bovada and 5K on winning and just play the 100s and 200s.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's still, it's funny, I was talking to James Gettinger, if that's how you pronounce his last name, and I was saying, it's hard to get away from merge. I said there's almost no variance. Like my worst stretch was like over 3 months I'd lose a couple $1,000s. He says, well, that's not normal. That's not variance. He's like, you got to use the bigger swings than that. So, I mean, if I put 10,000 on Bovada in America's Card Room and lose it, that's a big shot to my bankroll. And I mean,
well, what do you have in your bankroll right now? 50?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if I'm living at all like a rational human being and I want to have money to the side to live for the next 6 months, then my bankroll really is not that big. But of course, the great thing is here I made my backers some money. So hopefully that would, and I thought, and even some of these real good pros, I found they don't even have all of themselves online. I thought that was interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Alex Fitzgerald, have you heard his podcast, The 1 Outer?
Yep.
He was talking about that today, and he said that a lot of, I don't know, whatever podcast I was listening to today on the way to the Venetian, and he said that a lot of online pros, like you said, are backed, and he said they have 50% of their action. He said if they're normally making like $20 an hour playing online, which he said apparently was or $20 a tournament, which he said was really good. Then now all of a sudden they're only making 10. And what he said was, he's like, if they could just get their bankroll handled, then they could double their income just by supporting themselves instead of being back.
Right.
And another thing he mentioned too is, he said, like, I charge, and I'm speaking as him, he says, I charge $210 an hour for coaching. He said, that's over 10 tournaments. He's like, you can do an hour of coaching a day and double your income. So
right.
That's another option too. I mean, you could do, like they were talking about, do a Twitch stream, which could turn into coaching. And if you're not backed online, you're, like he said, you're going to double your income, because now you're not giving away half of it.
Yeah, I have no desire to sell any of my action online. I'd rather just cross my fingers and hope. But they were talking about how, like, well, on PokerStars, it's easy to have for a very good player to have a $20,000 downswing.
Yeah.
So if so basically these guys are, I guess it's just I knew in live poker it was very common. I just didn't know in online too. There's guys who are just it's trying to reduce variance. But yeah, well, like right now, I'm not even addressing the big questions. I know I get to play the main event for the first time.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations, dude. That's fucking cool.
It's pretty cool. Although, I'm not even like going for the excitement. I'm going to make a run at the thing. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Of course.
And I even got in the price of I'm even a bigger commodity now, because I only charged 17% markup for these tournaments I played, and now I'm charging 30% for the main event. Mm-hmm. Everyone gets more than the main event, but it's funny. The one player I was talking to who's played with me, he's like, "Dude, 17%? That's way low. I would have bought the blah blah blah." But it's just kind of cool to have someone believe in me, and it's nice that like I said, the backer made money, and hopefully that's the start of a relationship, which we will both benefit from in the future.
Hopefully.
Because if my goal was to go out there and play the whole summer next year, I mean, I'm likely not gonna have $50,000 to do it. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah. If you come out and play the whole summer, you should do what Mark and those guys did. Get a room with them.
Yeah.
They're kind of a lot though. I mean, $11,000 for the whole thing.
Right. Although, if you think about it, break it down. 3 guys staying there for that's.
4 guys.
4 guys, 20. Yeah, I mean, it's $80 or $90 a night. So that's what you'd be spending for a hotel room. Plus they get a pool and a hot tub and a laundromat in their own kitchen, so they're not spending money on every damn meal.
And they are very, very close. I guess. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
And I was spending, buying $19 cheeseburgers and $17 omelets every day too. So if you're just cooking for yourself right there. But that's how I'd like to do it. I mean, I definitely had a great time out there, and next summer I'd love to be able to go out there for maybe the whole summer, except for go for 1 week back to see my son, and maybe hopefully another week where I could get my son's mother to come out, and who knows? And anyways, I mean, I'm pretty jazzed. I mean, after I won the first tournament, I said, well, I really can't. You won't hear me bitching about poker for a while, and it just got better thereafter.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Although,
that's awesome. I was so happy for you, man. My mom, my dad, my brother, like everyone that listens, they were freaking stoked.
Oh man, that's appreciate it.
I even got buddies from work that are listening, so it's pretty cool.
You guys are much more generous than me, because I told you I was rooting for you to get second place in one of these tournaments.
When I
want to be the only one
in,
who has a poker trophy sitting on.
When we were getting down to the money and I was in that Venetian, I was like, how cool would that be if we both banked the same tournament at the Venetian?
That was
wasn't meant to be. Well, who knows? I still got 2 days left. I haven't checked to see if that same tournament's playing, so maybe I've spoken too soon. We'll see.
Right. There still could be some binkage around the corner here.
There could.
Have you played any cash or?
No cash. No.
That's right.
Don't care. Oh, you know what?
Stevie B's the tournament guy.
Look at this.
What's that?
Series events, 1 day. Oh, no, it's not the same tournament. It's a $600 buy-in tomorrow at the Venetian, but...
probably a 3-day tournament.
No, it's just a 1 day. Starts at noon. 15,000, starts at 5,100.
What's the guarantee? 25,000?
40K. So
chump change.
Structure is 30-minute levels, not 40. So, man, the 30s, it's funny. When I first started playing tournaments, live, well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but just a couple of years ago, like 30-minute levels to me sounded like, wow, you have all the time in the world. And now, like, if it's not 40 or more, I feel like it's just a rat race,
Right.
But, I can tell now that I'm moving up in limits, like there's more, pros, there's tougher spots, but there's still the soft spots too. I mean, like every time I've sat down, it's never been like, oh, it's impossible to make money here. Like there's always those soft spots, there's always like a rich businessman that just like is sick of losing at blackjack, so he's going to try his hand at cards. Or,
they're often,
they're
often gone early. It's finally,
but they are,
a lot of people
once you get to the later levels, then yeah, you're right. There are more pros, but
I think I found myself repeating a cliche. And this is funny. This was talking to Pete Rios again the other day, and we were talking about, we were in the monster stack, and I think this was on the first. And I'm not sure which tournament this was, and I won't even bitch about going out in a massive pot in the monster stack when I flopped a set because, I ran so good I'm not allowed to complain about bad beats. But anyways, I'm like, my table's terrible. He's like, that's interesting. I've never been on a terrible table. There's always like, one guy who's really good at poker and then a few guys who are really competent and a couple guys who are not terrible, but kind of, he's like, only 1 out of 10 or 15 players do you see who at a poker table is ever really terrible. And I'm like, you know what? That's very well said. Because when you talk about a soft spot, it's a guy you don't have I don't think, not necessarily have a huge edge on. Or at least in a lot of, these 1Ks and up, I think. So he made a good point. When I can't remember the last time when I think about it, when I was on a terrible table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if I just think about all the WSOP events I played. I mean, in some of the ones like the monster stack, I'm like, okay, I'm making it through the day unless I'm just totally fucked over with the cards kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But by the end of that day, I actually got it in bad a couple times and had had one hands but by the end of the day there were some really good players there.
Yeah.
So I mean, just overall, I mean, just, I ran good, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well,
we
I
know
guess
that.
To me, like, soft spots, okay, at the Planet Hollywood yesterday, I was, this to me is a really soft spot. And maybe I'm just maybe my outlook on poker is different now or whatever. Anyways, $300 tournament. Guy, early position raises. He's a pro. I come around. I've got, queens, 2 red queens. I, 3-bet. Guy in the small blind. He calls my raise and then the pro calls. So he's out of position for the rest of the hand. Doesn't know if the pro is going to re-raise and he calls. Pro calls. Flop comes out, all diamonds. It's queen, jack, blank. 3 of diamonds.
Okay.
So I flop top set. Small blind checks, pro checks. I bet about a third to less than half the pot.
Okay.
Small blind shoves for just a little bit more, is like 3K more. I bet like 21. He shoved for 5 or something. Pro folds, I called. He had 10-8 of diamonds. That to me is a soft spot. You're in the small blind, out of position for the rest of the hand. You're calling a 3-bet, not knowing if another guy's going to raise.
Right.
That's a soft spot.
I mean, I agree with how
it's not a terrible player.
But he was short stacked too. He was under 20 bigs, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's
like, what are you doing? Right? There's always those guys at the table until you get into like day 2 or later in the tournament. There's those guys that you can accumulate and double up from.
I guess my point, just in terms of the overall, is, listen, unless it's like 100K high roller with like 50 people,
yeah,
I'm going to have an edge in any poker tournament I enter, pretty much forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But but you're never going to get at a table where I'll just open every pot and 3-bet and just everybody's going to be folding and I'll just, triple my stack and, you know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it's, the edges are small and, if I'm going to be a poker pro, it's going to be hard work and, I guess that, I think I had a point there, anyways, but just, when you hear people just say, oh, the table was terrible, I thought this player, well, I've never been in a terrible table. I think I've made the same point before, but here I just found myself spouting some cliche about I'm surrounded by terrible players. You could say I like my table. I don't have
I like that.
you know,
better,
that's a better way of saying it, but
yeah.
some of these,
table.
yeah, I mean, like by day one of the monster stack, my table was, there's one guy I forget, you know, never knew the guy, some guy from Indiana, and he just kept getting unlucky against me. We got it in ace king against my ace queen, a short stack, and he lost. Mm-hmm. And he was just taking some weird creative lines and then showing some crap hands, and we never knew what he had. And he was like, but he just kept getting unlucky and left. And like, I turned immediately to the guy on my right. He's like, that might be the best player I've ever seen. And I was just ready to say something. I was gonna say that guy's a great poker player. And it's funny, like the guy was like, you know, he owned some business in Indiana. He wasn't even a poker pro, I don't think. So it is funny just how tough poker is, though. How many, you know. And, maybe I'd be the sign of that too, you know. I mean, against these top players, they're not going to run me over either, you know, so.
Yeah.
But, so are you done? Are you done with Vegas after this? I mean, is there any chance I see you next week or for the main event, or are you kind of,
yeah, I just feel like I've just gotten a taste of this, you know. Let's see, where are we at here?
First of all, we haven't even gotten to the specifics of your move to Vegas plan. I mean, when do you get full retirement from the fire department? How many years away from that are you?
That's a tricky one, because I can't collect my pension until I'm 50.
Okay.
So if I leave when I'm 40, then I got 10 years of no income from the department, from my pension. So my plan is to I have some rental properties, and I'd like to, if I can get those paid off before I leave the fire department, then at least I'll have some rental income coming in where I can just pay the bills.
How do you have so much goddamn money? I don't even want to know how much you make at the fire department. It will make me angry.
Well, the money's all tied up in shit.
I know, but
you
you own a goddamn plane and rental properties.
I make my own beef jerky, bro. There's a lot of money to be saved in little things that add up a lot.
Jesus Christ, this drives me fucking bananas here.
I mean, just the beef jerky alone. Like, if I bought Jack Link's, that would have been at least, God, I don't know, probably $100. I mean, it's a metric shit ton of beef jerky, right? It'd have been $100 of beef jerky, because, you know, they sell it for $10 for 4 ounces or whatever, and I've got 2 pounds. And I was able to buy that at the Mexican carniceria for $20. So things like that add up a lot. While I'm out here, I'm staying at my brother's house, which is basically rent free. I buy food and beer and you know,
right.
There's all these, my car, okay? I bought my car when I was 20 years old, and I still have it, and I'm 35. I do all the maintenance on it myself. You know, there's all these little things that add up, and it's, when you save $1, it's exactly the same as making one. So all this money that I'm saving, I'm putting into property, which in the long run, as long as I don't get hit by a car tomorrow when I'm out for my run, will pay off in the long run.
I need a smart woman to take over. It's my only hope of some middle class stability here, but whatever. I am what I am.
It certainly makes for an interesting show. We are polar opposites, that's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's hard to disagree with that.
Oh, damn. Let's see, where were we? Okay, so we're in the month of June. Possibly, I don't know, this might be kind of tough. End of June, no, that'd be such a fast trip. By then, that's when the main event is. I'm not going to play in that. No, I got the whole main event off, I think. When's the main event? Like the 9th through the 14th, or?
No, July 6th, the 3rd through the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th, I think, are the 3 day ones, and I'm going to be playing the 6th. That's all I know.
Okay.
And then, I don't know how long it goes after that, but, we'll see.
Yeah.
I got to decide, hopefully, if, I really want 50% of myself in that main event, but I might sell off a little bit more. I don't know.
Hey, good. Yeah. I mean, really what you're going for is you're going for, you know, the big money. And, I mean, if you make the final table, even if you only have 10% of yourself, you're doing pretty freaking good. That's a 6-figure score.
Right. Well, we'll see.
You know?
Yeah, take it a hand at a time. But
yeah.
Yeah, like I said, my poker mind is right now focused on, World Series main event kind of shit, and then come August or late July or whatever, I'll get back to like, okay, how much an hour can I make online? Let's see if we can get that hourly up to $50 an hour playing tournaments.
Yeah.
Which is probably what I've made, over the last year or so. But just the money hasn't been. I can't get the money, so.
Yeah. Well, look at it just like a steady paycheck, Like I was talking with a guy at the Rio the other day about that, and he said the same thing. He said he's got $10K on there that he's getting a $2,500 check. He said one of them took like 9 weeks to get there, and then he said he got one after that, like 6 weeks later. And he said his buddy had $4,800 on there, which you got more than that. And he said the same thing. He's like, we're not playing on there anymore until we get until we're down to like 5K, and then we can start playing again. Everything's on ACR and Bovada.
Well, I last night I got on the Carbon and put $5,000 in sports bets on there.
Wow.
Under the hope that basically not really caring if I win or lose. I mean, if you do enough bets, they're all between 300 and 600. They probably cross themselves out, but Carbon Poker, gets to rake the VIG, which is probably $500. So basically, if I do that enough, like hopefully my account only goes down a couple thousand, but like I'll be a sports bettor rather than a poker player, and I think they take care of those guys better, so I'll get my money off quicker. But we'll see. That's unsubstantiated. I don't know if that works that way or not. We'll see.
It's kind of a big gamble, don't you think?
Well, I wouldn't gamble the whole thing away. $5,000 is when I got 50,000 on there. It's kind of meaningless. It's not. I mean, not meaningless, but when they haven't paid people in 13 or 14 weeks, and it looks like nobody's getting one single dollar off there. Like right now,
have you got your second check or nothing?
I'm sorry.
Hey, you got your one check for $2,500. How long ago was that?
I don't know. Over 2 months ago.
Holy shit! And you haven't gotten one since then?
I don't. Well, whatever. It's all conjecture at this point. But I like at this point, if you told me, okay, no big deal, I got to wait every 8 or 9 weeks, and I'll get, I'll basically get. It'll take 4 or 5 years to come. I'm like, okay, that would be no problem. I wouldn't sports bet. But I don't know if that's the situation. I don't think a company can keep going when they're telling people 3 or 4 weeks and it's taking 12.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is I won my first couple bets. So.
Oh, jeez. What's your count up to now?
Not that really matters. I picked the Golden State Warriors to win Game 6.
Uh-huh.
And I forget the other one. I picked the Red Sox one game. And
what do you got now?
I forget. Well, I took a couple of ridiculous long shot golf picks. Like Tiger's like 50-1 to win the U.S. Open or something. So I bet like $400 on it. So I win 20,000 if he wins the U.S. Open or something. And I think I took a couple UFC fights. A couple of them are weird. Like Ronda Rousey is such a huge underdog, such a huge favorite. If you bet like $800, you win like $75.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, man, I think we've.
Yeah, we've been spitting for a while now. This might be one of our longest episodes.
Yeah, we can edit out a little bit, like the parts where you talk.
I think
maybe we should just do.
I think we had a lot to get off our chest.
How about just a 2-hour episode of us chewing gum? People would probably enjoy more, but no.
We had a lot to get off our chest with the WSOP, and a lot of shit's happened. You've had a great run. I had all these hands that I had stored in my head that I had to get out, especially after that bust out hand. Oh man, it left a foul taste in my mouth with the ace queen and the 7-7. I'm like, am I retarded? Like, did I take the wrong line or what?
Nah, that one isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to think of the hands you played. None of them really.
He took the same exact line that he took with the pocket fives, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I just, like I said, if anything, I like maybe 3-bet or fold pre, but I guess folding, that just seems one of those spots where just the memory of different hands. It's like that's a spot where you flop something, and the person ends up getting 3 streets of value with ace king. Just sizing their bets perfectly, so you're kind of priced in every time, or
Yeah.
Anyways, man. Well, hopefully next time I talk to you, I'm going to have some. I still haven't decided if I'm going to Vegas next week. I got to figure that out. But
I think you should, man. I think you should. You're on a freaking heater right now. You got to run it. And
right. Well, I got to. The drive back took like 7 hours. Like the drive there took 4. So like.
Well, when did you leave? That probably has a lot to do with it.
I left like Sunday morning at like was it Sunday or Monday morning? No, I don't even remember. No, I left like Monday morning at like 10 a.m. I mean, there should be no.
Oh, that's the problem. Yeah.
Monday at 2 p.m. driving through the mountains. I'm in a traffic jam. Is that supposed to be that way?
Well, if you're going to leave Vegas, now keep in mind. So I've got property out here. I've made this drive. I actually figured it out, and I've probably made the drive from California to here at least 100 times. And you got to leave around 8 a.m. You can't pussyfoot around. 6 o'clock's the perfect time. Like, you got to get up early and go. If you do that, you're good. By the time, well, you know what? You're going to San Diego, so this could be totally off. But LA traffic.
I'm literally driving through the mountains where I cannot see one house, where it's a crawl with no construction problems, with no accident. I have no clue.
Oh, there was no accident, really?
So I have no idea what the deal was. But
you know what?
I'm new to this area, so
there was probably an accident, and it cleared before you got there. And there's that time delay of 45 minutes or whatever, where the traffic is just a parking lot. But if you leave early in the morning, if you leave like 8 o'clock, by the time you hit LA. The early morning LA traffic is cleared, and then you breeze through that. But if you hit it late, then you hit the LA traffic. LA traffic actually.
There is no LA traffic. First of all, I skip LA. I go.
Yeah, I keep forgetting you're going to San Diego.
Yeah, I go. So that's.
You know what, dude? I have absolutely no experience in that. I have no idea. Long story short.
I knew eventually you'd shut up on the matter if I just sat here.
Yeah, I don't know. With San Diego, I'm not sure. I have no idea. L.A. and going to Ventura, I can tell you quite a bit, but down to San Diego, for some reason I had it in my head that you were taking the same route I was, but you're not. So I don't know.
Yeah, so anyway, if I go out there, I'm saying maybe I have to fly. This is interesting.
Yeah, but then you won't have a car. You need a car when you're here so you can go to the Rio and stuff. I mean, what are you going to do without a car? You're going to take a taxi every time, which is going to be $20-$30 just to go there.
Well, if I'm staying at the Rio, no, it isn't. Like if I fly, whatever. I'll figure it out. I might just be showing up at your brother's doorstep. I've been giving and giving and giving and giving to the Barton family for years, and now it's time to take something back.
Yes,
well, actually, no, I haven't. But
honestly, you could probably stay at my brother's. I mean, I'm
okay. Well, maybe we'll talk about that. Although the Rio takes pretty good care of me, I got to say, because
okay.
So I mean, like my bill for staying 21 nights was I think $700. So
no, that's not bad.
That's ridiculously cheap, under $40 a day, and that included $13 a day for internet. So pretty much, if you took that out, yeah, I was getting pretty cheap. But anyways, man, it's time to head out here.
Yeah, I gotta eat. All right.
Okay, man.
Okay.
Well, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Hit us up on Twitter at HUP Podcast. Facebook, Heads Up Poker Podcast. Email us with your questions or hands if you want us to review them at headsuppokerpodcast@gmail.com, and check out our blog where you can get all our episodes, headsuppokerpodcast.blogspot.com. You guys have a great week. Mike, I will talk to you soon. I got 2 more days.
Okay, good luck.
Wish me luck.
Good luck.
And here is your weekly motivational speech.
We have, as humans, we have something that no animal has. And what it's called is imagination. And what imagination allows you to do, it allows you to see it before it actually happened. What I mean by that is I need you to go 10 years into the future, 20 years into the future, and I need you to see yourself actually becoming the person you want to be. You got to live in the forward. block the whole world out. Put some music on, some classical music, right? The piano if you need to. I don't know what you need to listen to, but I want you to take 30 minutes. Go in the closet. Go in the basement. Go to the library. Go into a room alone. And I want you to take 30 minutes, and I want you to imagine. I want you to take 30 minutes, and I want you to live it for it. See, the problem is, I'm talking to some of you guys, the problem that you're having is you're living in the future and you're living in the present. And you keep talking about the mistakes. You keep talking about the past. You keep talking about your trials. You keep talking about your situation. And I want you to know that everybody that's ever been great, everybody has had an obstacle to overcome. They've had a barrier that they had to climb. There is no individual who's ever reached success and he didn't have to go through an obstacle or a barrier to get there. I need you to live in the future. I need you to go in your future every single day. I need you to go in your future. I need you to see what you're going to be. Listen to me. What you are to be, you are now becoming. And so you got to use your imagination. And your imagination has to take you beyond the pain. Your imagination has to take you beyond the trouble. Your imagination has to take you to the next level. We had to see ourselves there long before it happened. The second tool is we got to embrace faith. I have to have faith to believe that the thing that I see 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that one day that thing is going to be successful. When I was homeless at 16, I could have quit. When I was homeless, I could have given up. There are many days that I thought about committing suicide, but I said to myself, just keep imagining, keep thinking, keep seeing what you're not now, but what you're going to be. Sometimes it's going to be hard. Sometimes you're going to look all around you and nowhere do you see success. Nowhere do you see anything that remotely looks like success. But you got to embrace. Number two, you got to embrace the faith. You got to believe that although it's not happening right now, if you keep pressing, if you keep pushing, guess what? One day is going to be your day. That's right. I need you to say that with me. One day is going to be your day. Embrace the faith. You got to be able to see it and believe it, that when there's no evidence around you, when there's no evidence around you, when you got pain in your life, when you're tired, you feel like giving up, and you feel like quit. When you look around you, you don't see anything that looks anything like success. You got to embrace the faith and believe that one day going to be my day. But one day can't be your day if you give up. If you quit, no day will ever be your day.